In 2017, I wrote a blog post entitled Pew Fine Arts Center and the Lily Room, Are They Haunted? And it's a story about the greatest urban legend and the greatest ghost story in the history of Grove City College. And I wrote these because nobody else did. I worked there at GCC from 2006 to 2008. I worked as a campus safety officer. I didn't carry a gun. I didn't have the qualifications to carry a gun. But I was a guy that had the keys, and I would patrol each building. The academic buildings, the dormitories, as long as there were no students in them. But every night between 6 p.m. and 2 a.m., even after I locked buildings down, I still went inside of them to just make sure everything was okay. And this included the Pew Fine Arts Center, which is where Gwendolyn, the ghost, resides, apparently. And I can tell you that I believe it after I walked through that building hundreds of times. And I talk about it in my blog post, how just that back hallway behind the stage is so strange. It's just a weird vibe you get back there. And it's nothing I experienced anywhere else on campus. And I know what you're thinking. You're like, well, you just felt that way because you were told there was a ghost in there, and, well, you think there's a ghost in there. Well, nobody talks about the library being haunted, and I believe the library is haunted as well. Not as severe as the Pew Fine Arts Center with Gwendolyn, but I believe there is something in the library too. But the vibe I got in the library wasn't as heavy as Pew. It seems like there might be just some old librarians just missing their old jobs and just hanging out in the library, because it wasn't very intimidating to walk through there at night, although you felt like there was a presence in there of some sort. But all the other buildings, I never felt those feelings, even in the women's dorm where the Lily Room is supposed to be. And again, as I talk about in my blog post, I offer up some details as to why I believe there is no such thing as the Lily Room and it was just made up. Although it is a very good story. So even if I dismiss it and I think it's just totally made up, it's great fiction, and I think it's a great Halloween story. I hope one day that people will make films based on the urban legend of the Lily Room. But I can tell you that that's not true whatsoever. But Gwendolyn, yes, I believe in that. I'm not afraid to admit that. But I liked living in Grove City. I'm a city kid from Pittsburgh, and we moved up there so my wife could go get her doctorate at Slippery Rock. So we lived in there for two years at Grove City on Garden Avenue behind the high school football field. Had a good time there. I liked that place. It was a good town. But it was just temporary. And my time at Grove City was temporary, but I will never forget being in Pew Fine Arts Center all those times and feeling almost the same feeling of heaviness in that back hallway behind the stage on almost any given night at any given time. It's just a really strange feeling. And I'll never ever feel that ever again.